Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this webinar today. My name is Anthony Turner. I'll be the host for today. Just a little bit of the niceties of what we're going to be doing today. So just to help us, because the session is going to be recorded, we will ask you to use the chat box should you have any questions. I'll then be going through the presentation, which will probably be for around about 45 minutes. And at the end of that, the screen will come up with a thing, time for questions. At that point, we will stop the recording so that we can respect your privacy of questions and that you can share information as you see appropriately. So if you've got a question, please pop it in the chat box. Ross will be moderating those questions for me to ensure that we get across as many as we possibly can. And I'm happy to stay on, for a period of time after the hour to answer those questions should it be necessary. Also, just as a bit of a courtesy, if you wouldn't mind helping us with the ensuring the viability of the broadcast this afternoon, if you wouldn't mind muting your microphones and also closing off your videos just to protect the bandwidth a little bit, because we do find that this time of the afternoon is probably one of the busiest times in the afternoons on Zoom. So if you wouldn't mind just shutting down your microphones and also your videos for the duration of the presentation, I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're about to begin the actual presentation now. There's a lead in for the recording. So I'm just going to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're now recording. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Marketing for Small Business, Part 1, where we're going to be talking about marketing to community needs. What the objectives of today is to help you better understand the needs of your customers and to create appropriate and effective marketing communications to get back on track, after this COVID nightmare that we've been experiencing in the shortest time possible. So, we're trying to do this by helping you improve knowledge, and that's in respect of the fact that most fail because of what they don't know rather than what they do. Also, looking to help you gain some new skills so that you can apply these new skills in a way to get improved results, to use some proven tools. So, why reinvent the wheel when the design is already proven? So the information that we're going to be giving you and some support that may be available to you afterwards, which we'll talk about at the end, is really, really important. These will give you opportunities to access different tools from a variety of sources. And lastly, it's to help prepare you for your future. I mean, we all know that there's a lot of challenges in our economic environment at the moment, particularly in the greater Melbourne area where, we've got this enforced lockdown for at least a couple more weeks. And, but it's a good time also to be able to sit back and to be able to plan how you're going to change and what you're going to do to create the future that you would like from this point forward. Fundamentally, I think we need to recognise and understand the fact that, the current marketing models are just well and truly broken. The old marketing models were very much around, we would promote our products out, through a variety of different sources and, shout from the rooftops and everything else, but really nobody's listening these days. And there are a number of reasons for that. First and foremost is that, all of our customers, and that includes us because we are customers of different organisations, and we are much more informed. We have far greater choice. We are much more discerning in what we want to buy, and we also have much higher minimum expectations. And I'll give you an example, and I'll try and give you some examples, over the course of this session, to try and make these sort of images stick in your mind a little bit. And relating to high minimum expectations, it wasn't that long ago. If we went out, to a cafe somewhere and we asked for a white coffee, the person behind the counter would have gone to the International Roast Tin, scooped out a teaspoon of coffee, put it in a mug, put some hot water on it, asked you if you wanted milk with that, added that in and told you that the sugar was on the table behind you or on the counter in front of you. In these days, if we went to a cafe and that was the coffee that we were given, we would be horrified. You know, if it's not a barista coffee, which is, you know, you've got the choice of your macchiatos, long black, short black, latte, cappuccino, Vienna coffees, whether it's got soy milk, almond milk, skinny milk, or regular milk, or whatever it might be, you know, and it doesn't have a pretty pattern on the top of the latte or something, you know, we would think we were being dudded. And, you know, that is just by virtue of the fact that the world has moved on and things keep on moving on, and our expectations grow with those. Now, the reality is, it's not just our expectations, it's the expectations of yourselves, but it is the expectations of all of your customers. They have grown about what you need to be providing to them. You know, we also have found out through research and stuff that over 60% of satisfied customers never buy from the same business again. So in other words, I've come into your establishment, you know, whatever your product or service is, and we have a wide number of different products and services represented in the audience of today. Everything from hotels through to coffee bars to, you know, service-based businesses. There's, you know, a lot of different people here, but these measures remain constant across all your different industry areas. So, you know, 60% of satisfied customers never buy from the same business again. In other words, you know, I've come into your business, I've got what you sell me, I'm happy with the price, I'm happy with everything else, and I've walked off and you never see me again. And the most prominent reason that you don't see me again, I'm one of those 70% of customers on the next line who do not feel valued by your business. So, you know, think about, you know, when you go to country businesses and you hear, you know, people talk about, you know, country relationships, you know, you go into regional areas, you know, you go into the shops and if you're known in there, they talk to you. Oh, hi, how you going? They know your name. They know what you like. They've actually built a relationship with you. And in city-based businesses, often because of the busyness, and that's busyness with a Y, we don't have time to do those things, or we don't make time to do those things. And customers therefore don't feel very valued. And, you know, with the emerging trends of COVID, and as we come out of this, those customer relationships are going to become more and more and more important to your success. If you don't have good customer service, if you don't have good customer relationships, then those people are going to be part of that 60%. They're satisfied with the cup of coffee or the, you know, the widget that they bought from you, but you won't see them again. And the best value that you can provide, making those customers feel valued, is what's going to get those people coming back, staying loyal to you, and then bringing their friends to you as well. See, when everybody's doing the same thing, and by that I mean not necessarily doing it very well, buyers see very little differentiation. And when we see little differentiation between products, our focus goes on price. What's the cheapest? And we all know that focusing on price and reducing our pricing is actually a downward spiral. And particularly now, you've been hit hard in terms of the economics of your businesses. Many of you have been closed for many months. Many of you have been on partial turnover. You've had to put staff aside and things like that. And you're doing the absolute best you can to keep everything going, but it's really, really hard. So what's really core, I believe, is to ensure that every customer that comes through your door is now valued, that they don't just see price and they don't choose you on price. They're willing to help you get back on track. Now, one of the key ways of getting people back on tracks is word of mouth. So if they're telling good stories about you, people will come into your businesses. The reality is that last line on this slide says word of mouth influences 60+ buyers, advertising less than 30%. Now, one of the key things that we often think about doing is when times are tough, we'll advertise more. Well, that might work, and it will certainly work for some, but it's not going to work for everybody. And the reality is, word of mouth, if that's what influences people, then the best marketing that you can do is getting involved and engaged with the people who are already your customers or who have been your customers, who are on your database, because those are the opportunity areas to start engaging with those people, start informing them, if you haven't been doing this already, about where you're at, what you're doing to make your business better and stronger. What are the new products that you're bringing? What are the things that you're doing differently? How safe are you from COVID and all these things? Engage with your people now. Get out there talking to them, whether it's through using social media or whether it's newsletters. It's about building that relationship and keeping that personal relationship going. So when the time is right and those people are walking the streets of Melbourne again, then they will think of you and come to you because you've been in front of their mind. So one of the things that I'd like to just touch on in formulating before we get into some of the how-tos about customer needs marketing is let's just set the scene of what marketing is. Marketing in many books and everything else is considered to be an umbrella term for all of the different things: advertising, publicity, price, product, merchandising, location, promotion, all of these, positioning, branding, everything. This is all part of the marketing mix. But I actually think there's a simpler equation for marketing. And I think that equation can best be described by the following statement, and that marketing is a communication bridge between your customer and your business. I'll just repeat that for you. Marketing is a communication bridge between your customer and your business. And the reason that I say that is that everything that you say, do, or don't say and don't do tells a story about how much you care about your customers. The way you answer the phone, the way you say thank you when they give you, they pay you, the after-sales service that you give or don't give, the way you greet customers when they walk into your business. All of these different things say something. I remember I was, some time ago, I worked for a distribution company and I was managing a particular facility. And, our guys in the warehouse, they used to use any old box and tape it up and send the parcels out with that. And I looked at it, and one of the biggest concerns, we did some research across our customer base, one of the biggest concerns was that their parcels didn't look right, they weren't cared for. So we just changed it. We made everybody use new boxes. Now, it cost us a little bit more money, but our sales went up dramatically because it showed that we cared, that we listened to our customers. And we made changes about how parcels were packaged so that things didn't get broken in transit. So it's little things like that you can do that can make a big difference between what people think of a customer, what your customers think of you as your business, and how they relate to you and how they would recommend other people to you as well. So if marketing is a communication bridge, then we've got to ask ourselves now, well, what is it that our customers actually really buy from us? And I'll go back to the cup of coffee example, and I'll use this throughout today's session. If I come to your store to buy a cup of coffee, am I buying a cup of coffee? Yes, I'm physically buying a cup of coffee, but I could have bought a water. I could have bought a juice. I could have bought a tea. I could have bought an alcoholic beverage. Okay. See, what I'm really buying, I wasn't really buying a cup of coffee. I was buying something to quench my thirst. Or I was buying a moment, where I'm sitting around to have a chat with a friend or something like that. Those are the things that I'm really buying. So, by understanding what all customers really buy, and that's not a product or the service that you give, it's partially the experience of how you give it to them, but it's actually, more importantly, it's the solution that you're providing to the problem that your customer has. See, every time you go and buy something, you go to the supermarket to buy groceries. Well, actually, what you're buying is food to ensure that you don't starve to death. You go and buy a house, but really what you're buying is shelter. Now, the different size, scale, the quality, the prices that you pay for all of these different items will vary based on a number of other criteria. But fundamentally, what you are buying is a solution to a problem. So if that's what your customers are buying, what we need to do is to start rethinking our businesses in terms of what are the problems that we actually solve for our customers. So the cafe, provides food, quenching of thirst, all of the different things like that. So they provide sustenance. Okay, so the hotel provides a safe place to sleep for the night, and food and convenience and all those other things. So, but what is it that your customers are buying from you, from your individual businesses? See, once you've identified what problems are, you can then start thinking about, well, who is my ideal customer? Now, it won't be just one customer. You might have a multitude. Some businesses have 3, 4, 5 different ideal customers, for different groups of products or different services that they may provide. But the core about, once you start identifying the problem that your business can solve, and then you can say, start thinking, well, who are the people that typically have this problem? What are the common things about them? What is it? What are the demographics? What are their spending? What is their, where do they go to shop? What are the ambience that they like? What are all the things that, make these people tick? What are the things, are we doing to ensure that whatever we do with our business, we're making it as customer friendly as we possibly can? And particularly for those people who we've identified are the largest group of people who actually have the problem that we are able to solve with the business that we run. So once you've actually identified who these people might be, then the next part of that is to sort of understand, well, what is that customer's journey? How do they go from no knowledge of your business to about being a loyal customer? And what that really means is, what are all the different places where they interact with you? So it might be through the web, on social media, it might be through advertising, direct marketing, it could be emails, it could be after sales contacts, it could be store visits, it could be phone contact. It'll be different for each one of your businesses. But a lot of these places where people connect to your business, you've got to then look at each one of these aspects of connection to say, are we doing the best to make this really, really attractive to our customers? So you either have or you haven't. Okay. So, for example, a number of the people have got shop fronts. So, are the windows clean? Is the street clean? Have you got pieces of paper hanging all over the windows so people can't see into your business? Have you got? We've all been on journeys, to remote areas where you suddenly see, you go past a shopping strip, and you see that there's a store which has got last year's Christmas decorations, and there's some dead blowflies in the window. It's not very attractive to come into the shop. Or we can see it in the city areas where the paint's peeling off on the outside. The sign outside is faded, or is broken or cracked or something like that. What that says to the customer or potential customer is that you don't really care about your business too much. Now, the reality is you don't see this. The thing is that you're walking past this every day of your life, probably multiple times, and you become oblivious to it. We've all been guilty of that. But what we've got to now do is make a step back and look at the outside of our building. Look at all of the different elements, our website, our invoices, our papers, our cards, our branding, all of the different elements of our marketing. And say, are they up to scratch in terms of meeting the higher expectations of the customers that we've identified as being our core crew? So once you've actually identified who your ideal customer is, and you've looked at their journey, you're in a much better position to understand their needs. And the more you know your customers' needs, the better you're able to serve them. You're also better able to ensure that you propose a clear solution to the customer's issue. So remembering that people buy solutions to problems, not products or services. And lastly, you can actually then come up with the offers that are the best ones to keep your customers coming back. Now, the next thing is very important to do is to have a look at what your competitors are doing. The first thing you've got to do is identify, well, who are my competitors? And they're probably a lot wider than if you're a hamburger bar or a cafe, or you're a hotel, or you're a transport hub, or whatever it might be, or an IT business. They're not just the ones that are your immediate competitors who do the same thing that you do. There's other options around you that also can actually service those customers with similar, albeit slightly different, but similar types of product or options. So the key thing is to sort of get aware of who your competitors are. So, and the reason for that is to come up with a competitive advantage. And the best way to go and see who your competitors are is to go and visit them. Ask friends, people to go and visit them. Get them to tell you the story of what their experiences was. Because ultimately, with competitive advantage, the key things that we need to do is, firstly, we need to, starting from the left of the screen, analyze the benefits of what your product or service offers. So the benefits, very simply, are the things that it does for me. So it's the what's in it for me element. So in other words, I come and buy a cup of coffee. Really, I'm buying a drink because I'm thirsty. So what's in it for me is quenching my thirst. So you need to be thinking about the various products or services that you offer across your suite of things that you do within your business to analyze the benefits of each of those products or services and answer the question, what benefit or what problem does this solve for the customer? Because that's the bit you need to be talking about. Don't tell me about the new smartphone. It's got a fancy camera and it's got 35,000 apps and it's got, a 6-inch screen versus a 5-inch screen. I don't care. I want something that's going to make phone calls for me and give me, at my fingertips, the ability to communicate. Next thing is to identify, once you've identified the products, benefits and services, is to identify the hidden secrets. Now, your hidden secrets are those little things that you do that over and above the norm that have a value. So a lot of the ladies will recognize this one. You might go to get your hair done and they'll give you an eyebrow color and wax or that sort of thing as well. Okay. Now, you would probably pay $20 for that, but it's included with your haircut. Now, the business owner, because they have been doing this for so long, they don't really identify that that's something that they are doing different to whatever else that has value. Because when you come to talking your story, it's important to point out the things that you do that have added value so that not only you know it, but your customers know it as well. Next thing to do is to identify and analyze the competitor offers. So really what you're looking for is the opportunity gaps. What are they doing and talking about? What are you doing and not necessarily talking about, so that you can look for those opportunity gaps. So this becomes your story. So you choose your competitive advantages, you can communicate that out to your customers, and you implement this competitive advantage strategy. But please, this is not just a set and forget moment. What we now need to do is to set up a bit of a structure so you review and refine those communications. However, there is a word of caution. Don't just review and refine for the sake of doing it. If it's really working for you, leave it alone. You may be sick of saying the same thing, but your customers have only heard it once. Okay. Now, just as a personal experience, my wife and I, we used to have a gift shop up in the Yarra Valley, which specialised in products from around the Yarra Valley area. So nearly everything we had in the store came from within 50, 60 k's of where we were. And that was a feature that we really spoke about. So when new customers came into our store, the first thing we would do is we'd say, welcome. Oh, thank you. And say, look, in case you haven't been in here before, we specialise in locally made arts and crafts stuff. Typically most of the things come from within 60 kilometres radius of the store. So please feel free, have a wander around. If we can help you with anything, please ask. More than happy to do so. And then we'd stand them go. Now, the other thing would often happen is that we'd have somebody who come in and says, oh, no, we know the story, and say, oh, yes, oh, that's great. So I don't have to tell you about the fact that we do everything from within 50 k's of here and support all the local artisans. So what have I just done? By acknowledging that they know it and repeating it again, I've reinforced into their mind what our competitive difference is. So find and craft ways in how you speak with your clients to keep on repeating and reinforcing this in their minds, because that will keep them coming back. Okay, the next thing is to understand a little concept called social comfort. You will all recognise these brand names, I'm sure. Harrods of London, David Jones, Target, Best and Less Reject Shop, Kmart. What's the same about all of these brands is the fact that they predominantly sell clothing and household goods. What's different about them is many things. It's the shop layout. It's the colour schemes that they use. It's the ambience that they create. It's the quality of products that they offer. It's the pricing that they change. It's the shopping experience that they give. See, every one of us, that's you and me, every one of us has a sense of value that we hold about ourselves. Now, typically, the Harrods shopper, and I mean, it would be nice to be able to go to London and go to shop in Harrods, as I'm sure most of you would agree. But the Harrods shopper is sort of fairly elite. It's a very upmarket store. You know, lots of people go in and buy a bag of lollies just so they can get a Harrods bag to bring home to say they've shopped there. But, you know, the real shoppers at Harrods, you know, they expect, you know, to be properly served. You know, they'll often have a cup of coffee or a glass of champagne whilst they're, you know, waiting for their parcels to be wrapped and carried down to the car. You know, there's a whole ambience and stuff that goes on there. On the other end of the scale, the best and less than reject shops, you know, you walk into those, it's brightly lit, everything's, you know, mass products on shelves of stuff. Everything's got mass items in plastic bags. It's pretty cheap, and it's rough and ready in the sense that it's, you know, low cost, and that's the appeal of that particular store. Now, what we know to be true is that the Harrods shopper wouldn't be seen dead in best and less or the reject shop, and vice versa, the best and less or the reject shopper wouldn't go to Harrods because it's too toffee for them, even if they were able to do so. So what we need to do is say, you'll probably ask yourself, well, why are you talking about this? Well, very simply, it's this. You have a value system and you choose where you shop. And you are attracted to a new business by what you see that is based around your value system. Now, earlier I was talking about, you know, identifying your ideal customer. But then part of that identification of the ideal customer is really, really important to identify their value system, because then you know how to position the quality, the ambience, the signage, the branding, and every aspect, the customer service, all of those elements as close as you possibly can to the average value system of your ideal customer group. Okay, so, you know, we've all been to restaurants at multiple levels. You know, the cheap run in and run out cafe versus, you know, the fine dining. You know, and there's different levels of service and ambience that, you know, relates to each one of those. So where does your customer sit if you had to, you know, look at them on the basis of not just a retail store, but a restaurant or a hotel or some other type of business? Okay, it's really important to get a feel for this, because once you set that, then you can create all of your branding and marketing to speak to that value system at a level, using the right sort of pictures on your website, you know, using the right sort of communications and, you know, the communication tools to help you connect better with your customers. Because as I said in the very beginning, regional customers and regional businesses, they know one another because they're small communities. Bigger city businesses have lost a lot of that because of the volumes of people that go through. But it's really important to connect and create those people connections in your businesses as strongly as you possibly can, because that's what will keep, you know, create customer loyalty and keep customers coming back and then bringing their friends as well. All part of what you need to rebuild your business after COVID. Now, the thing is, you know, before you advertise, it's really, really important to start thinking about not only the fact that, you know, advertising is, you know, attracts about less than 30% of customers. So it's really important to determine, well, is advertising my right methodology? But most importantly, it's also to go back to that research that we would recommend that you should have done on your ideal customers to find out where they go for information. Because it's not about just saying the right things, it's about being in the right places to say those things. So, you know, in terms of saying the right things, I'm just going to give you a short example. So the short example very simply is, as you can see on the screen, Mary Smith, massage therapist for back pain relief, call 12345. Pretty straightforward. using exactly the same words. For back pain relief, call Mary Smith, massage therapist 12345. What a huge difference. See, in the first one, Mary Smith massage, we're talking about Mary Smith. I'm somebody who's suffering from back pain. I'm coming to your business because I have a problem that I'm looking to solve. I don't identify with Mary Smith. Mary Smith could be absolutely the most adorable person in the world. I don't identify with that. I don't care about that at this point in time because I've got back pain relief. So what's going to grab my attention is somebody's talking to me about the problem that I have, which is back pain relief. And oh, by the way, Mary Smith is somebody who can help me. And this is the contact number of how to get in touch with Mary Smith. So when you're advertising, it's really important to think very, very carefully about not only what you say, but how you say it and what the focus is on. A simple example, I did some work with a client who had a radio campaign, and he was in the natural health industry, and he was providing services for people who suffer from chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And he was doing 30-second radio ads, and his radio ads went on about, how wonderful the things that they were doing and everything else. And it ended with, so if you suffer from chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, book appointment on, 1300, whatever the number was. And he was getting some response. So we looked at the advertising campaign and we started and just left most of the copy exactly the same. But the one thing that we did differently was said, do you suffer from chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia at the beginning? And then we went through the spiel, and then we said, for more information or, for an appointment, contact us, on 1300, whatever it was at the end. Their responses went up over 250%. And the simple reason was that, when somebody's got a problem, their radar is on, whether that's in a visual media or whether that's in a sound-based media like radio, their radar is open for their problem. So if at the front of the ad, they heard chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, they knew they had 30 seconds to go and find a pen and paper to write down the number or the website that was going to come at the end of the ad so that they could contact and find out about that. Without that being at the front, the message had gone, and when they recognized chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia at the end, but they didn't have time to get the information. So, this is why how you say what you say is much more important than necessarily the what you say. The other part of it is where you say it. Okay, so I'm going to pose a little question for you, which I'll answer, is what's your number one marketing tool? I'll let you think about that for a moment and just put something in your own heads of what you think your number one marketing tool is. And I'd be interested to know at some point how many of you thought that this is it, customer service. Customer service we have found to be absolutely the number one marketing tool. We've done a lot of work in a variety of businesses, including places like the Queen Victoria Market and other businesses around Melbourne, with all of the different works that have been going on over a period of time. And what we've seen as you walk into these businesses, and I'm sure you've all experienced it and seen it yourself, is that there's two types of businesses. There's ones where the staff are engaging, hi, how you going? How's your day? And the other ones who are sitting there at the back of behind a desk somewhere, fiddling on their phones, playing on Facebook or doing whatever, who are quite disinterested, look up and say, are you right? That's not customer service. That's customer neglect. See, customer service is where you actually get engaged with the customers, where you can provide the answers to the problems. It's also about saying, well, look, actually, we don't actually have something that can help you with that, but somebody down the road does. This is not about the sale in the sense that Yes, it is about the sale overall, but you will get the sale out of being honest with your customers, providing good service. It's also about providing, good follow-up after a sale. It's having those, returns policies, things that are clear, making it clear, providing instructions how to get best use out of the products or service, training people where it's a service and there's a new skill that they have to learn. It's all of these elements that, really, really important. Now, if the customer service is not good in your business, and if you're one of the team, then you have a responsibility to make it better. But if you're in the management side of the business, then it's not the team's responsibility, it's your responsibility. If the customer service sucks, it's the owners and the managers who have the responsibility to make it different. So what I would strongly be suggesting is that you have a really good look at your customer service. Look at ways that you can improve it, make it better, make it more customer focused. See, you and I, when we go shopping today, we're looking to be looked after and treated as a little bit special. That doesn't mean to say, I expect the red carpet and, champagne or coffee every time I walk into your shop, that sort of thing. That's ridiculous. But what I do expect is to be acknowledged, politely, taken care of, not, racing around sort of saying, oh, I'll be with you in a minute. I'm coming. And I've just got to take this phone call, or everything else is more important than me. Guess what? I'm going to leave. And most of your customers will do the same. Remember, 60% of customers who are satisfied with what you've offered them in their business don't come back. You want to turn that around. And by looking after your customers and looking after them well is really a key factor. Now, in terms of training, set up some standards. If you want to know how to communicate that to your team, easy. All of you have got a smartphone. It's got a video. Take a short video. This is how we do it. This is how we answer the phone. This is how we greet a customer. This is how we do an exchange. This is how we do whatever we have to do in our business. Little videos. Put them up on a private YouTube channel and give access to the staff to do those things. Get them to sign off that they've done it. See them practice it. Encourage them to practice it. Because that one thing, strong, good customer service, is going to get those people coming back through your door. And I can guarantee you, out of the whole audience of today, and we went across all of the businesses in Melbourne, 20% would grab this and say, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that and do something with it. 20% will be saying, I think this guy's talking through his hat. And the other 60% say, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, and do nothing. I would encourage you to be part of that 20% who do something with this, because your competition shrinks when you're part of that 20% of doing it well. Okay, so the next big thing is going online. Why might you go online? Well, the reality is, I used to think that it wasn't necessary to be online. I am now convinced that it is absolutely essential that you need to be online, irrespective of your business. Now, not every business necessarily needs a website, but every business does need a web presence. So that can be through directories, that can be through, social media, it can be through, local chambers of commerce, precinct groups in the Melbourne metro area, whatever it might be. But you need to have access online, because people do go online. Sorry, I'll just click back. People do go online to actually research and find out about businesses and products and services before they go there. I would strongly recommend that most businesses now should have a website. Because there's a central point to have all of your information. It's like a shop window, another shop window, but an electronic one. And if it's done well and you incorporate things like blogs and other tools within a website, then you can make it very strong. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about websites, because we've got our marketing customer needs marketing part 2, which is on the digital side of things, coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So I'd encourage you to enroll in that one as well. So far, sorry, I don't know what I just did there. Let me just go back to here. Suffice to say, when you're looking at going online, it's really, really important to plan from the outside in. And what I mean by that is, like I've been saying to you about your business in general, it's really important to think of it from your customer's point of view. Now, I've been to lots of websites, government, corporate, bureaucratic, small business websites and everything else. The best ones are the ones that are actually naturally intuitive for me to follow as a customer to find the things that I'm looking for. A lot of the bigger organization websites can be very hard to find information, and sort of government websites often are ones that are hardest because they've got a lot of the good information seems to be hidden, and also because there's just so much information on these websites. They're not necessarily the easiest to navigate to find what you want. So my advice is to really look at your website as if you are a customer going to it from the first place. And the same with any of the other electronic tools that you might be using as well. Look at it from a customer's perspective. Do the pictures, does the navigation, do all of the various elements make it feel attractive to me? I'm part of your ideal customer group. Does it invite me in, or does it say, I'm not quite sure whether this is the right place for me to be? And when I am there, is it easy for me to follow the threads of getting the information that I want? So you're going to probably need help with that. That's fine. Do the other workshop and then look at other help from then on. Next thing is to remember that, in terms of ranking of websites and your online activity, it's all now really about quality content. And it's about using, engaging copy and various tools to actually help drive the search engines to your website, which means it's not a set and forget, like you get a brochure printed and you can put it up on the shelf and you can forget about it. Well, a website is something that you're going to have to be working on or having somebody work on for you every day. It's a major marketing tool. Okay, there's a whole lot, writing web copy. There are special ways of writing it, and there are formula to writing it. So that will be covered again, in more detail in the digital workshop that's coming up. But I would strongly get advice, because there are key ways of writing it to get the story right, but also to get the structure of it right, so as it works best for your search engines as well. And the last part of it really is about thinking about all the places where you go to actually currently use to actually drive traffic to your business. So whether that's email, social networking, whether it's webinars like this, whether you've got a blog, whether it's your website, whether it's classified ads, whether it's links from other people's websites to yours, it's about finding all of the strongest things that you can that are relevant to who your business is and what you are, and that are complementary to what you do, to actually add value through your website and through your digital marketing platforms that you use, to actually drive that traffic and give you kudos to get you further and further up the search engine rankings. Obviously, there's all the stuff about the various types of social media, and there's plenty of thoughts about it, and that will be covered again, as I say, in a couple of weeks in a lot more detail. But what I want to say about all of your marketing activity, fundamentally, it's not about which tool you use. You might be conversant with Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook or LinkedIn if you're in a professional service or whatever it's about. Okay, it's not about which tool you use. At the end of the day, it's all about using the tools that your customers use. Understanding your ideal customer, knowing where they go to get information, looking and understanding the information that they're looking to get, the problems they're looking to solve, and going and playing in the space where they go for that information. So I know this is some sort of basic stuff, but really what as a key message that I can give you about what we're talking today is that it's no longer any good to be thinking about your marketing from about what you want to do or what you want, result you want. Yes, you've got to know what that is, but that's not the focal point. The focal point now is asking and understanding clearly about what your customers need, what your customers' problems are, and then providing those customers with solutions to those particular problems throughout all of your marketing activity.